right, back of the pack, Ultra Guy here. I'm excited for this one. We have Kelly Fuson on the podcast this week. I Kelly, thank you so much for being on. This is going to be so much fun. I found Kelly on Instagram and did a little Instagram stalking. There's been, no need for any restraining orders, but been watching her story, and I just kind of felt like she would be such a fun person to get to know and talk to a little bit. Just kind of did some digging on her events and thought this would be so much fun to hear her story. So without further ado, Kelly, would you mind just giving us a little bit about where you grew up and how you found sport and ultimately you found yourself into OCR and Ultra?
Sure. I've always been a lifelong runner. I grew up in Sacramento, so very much a deep running community, which I actually probably didn't realize until I was older, but I joined cross country and track and field in high school, and I really did it more so for the community at the time without even knowing about it. And because I was a swimmer before that, but as a female teenager, as you can relate with your daughter, I was like, well, I don't, I'm in high school. I don't want to have my hair all wet now. I want to look good. So I was like, let me join cross country because they meet after school instead of at 7 a.m. in the morning. And it just stuck with me. I took a break during college to just do what you do in college and party and learn and get good grades. And then in my 20s, the progression started from there. That's when I started doing marathon trainings. I did 5 marathons. Quickly got burned out on that because that, as we all know now, those of us who are now in our 40s, like myself, I'm like, that's really hard on your body to sustain over a long period of time. So I did the progression from road running to trail running, particularly when I moved to San Francisco and had access to all the beautiful trails in Marin and the Headlands and the North Bay. And then my brother is the one who said, hey, do you want to do this thing called a Tough Mudder? I was like, I think I've heard of that. And I'm generally the type of person to just say yes to whatever someone suggests to me, especially my brother. We're very close. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try this Tough Mudder thing. I'm athletic. And we were instantly hooked. And from there, I guess it's been almost a decade now since I did that first one with him. I've done over 60 Spartan races. So it's been definitely a journey of being what most people would consider to be a pure runner to now this new term that everyone is coining and talking about of being a hybrid athlete. What does it mean to be a hybrid athlete? What does it mean to train that way? And yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm happy to talk about it today.
I love it. And just a little quick tidbit. We were talking before we started recording about how my second oldest is getting into Spartan racing, and she's actually going to be on the podcast, so her episode's coming soon. But I was just mentioning how she was getting into that. But cheerleading and boys are a little bit more important. And a quick side story, which I think is funny, is my oldest and then my second oldest started. They said, Dad, we were thinking about doing the cross country. And I said, that's awesome. I think that's because I wish I would have done sport in high school. I never really did, sadly. But I said, great. I'm fully supportive. I'll wake up, take you in the morning, the whole 9 yards. And it was kind of short-lived because it was them two were the only 2 girls, and all the other kids were freshmen. And so they were like, I don't think we want to do cross country anymore for a couple of weeks. And I was like, hey, is it something to do with there's no boys your age or other people your age? Yeah, And anyway, it didn't stick, but I'll have to let them know. So the swimming thing I can completely understand. When I trained for Ironman, it felt like I was living in a pool or on a bike somewhere. So I completely understand. Maybe not from a female perspective, but especially in high school when you don't want to walk around with wet hair all day.
Yeah.
You want to look nice but
not smell like chlorine.
Oh, seriously, yes. The obstacle course racing is so interesting to me because I found it in a similar way as you did. I got invited to a Tough Mudder with some friends, and I loved it because the Tough Mudder, especially, the obstacles are so much fun. and they are different than Spartan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think Spartan's going to be listening to this podcast, but I almost kind of like them more than the Spartan obstacles because they're kind of team oriented.
Yes. Well, they've done that deliberately because
Yeah.
Spartan owns Tough Mudder now. I think they bought them 3 or 4 years ago as a way to diversify their OCR portfolio. And it has a very different intention. I mean, you don't even get a timing chip anymore when you do a Tough Mudder because it's not about who's finishing fast. It's about finishing together.
Yeah. I mean, they at least the last time I did a Tough Mudder, they actually I don't think they do them here in Arizona anymore, or at least last time I looked last year. But like they had one called Augustus Gloop. That was so much fun. Do they have that one anymore? It was
Oh gosh, I don't know the names of them.
This one in the Arctic enema stuck out in my mind.
Oh, well, the Arctic enema, yes. Okay, that one, that one you can't forget.
Yeah, you can't forget that one. But this one, they had this huge, tall tube, and they had just gallons of water rushing down the tube. And you had to crawl under a chain link fence that was laying on the ground, and then come up past the chain link fence and climb up this tube with the water rushing down, like Augustus Gloop getting sucked up the tube in Willy Wonka. It was just so much fun. It was and the Spartan ones are tough. They're hard. A lot of them are more difficult, but they just came across as so much more fun. So that's kind of where I got hooked into them. But I'd love to hear more about, because that's a lot. You mentioned over 60. That's quite a few, and it's not like they're held every other weekend around you. So you've been doing a lot of traveling too. So give us an idea, from your perspective of, you did your first Tough Mudder, and then where did it go from there?
Yeah. The tipping point for me, well, certainly travel was a part of it. This idea, because, there's so many trail races in California that you kind of don't have to travel. But with Spartan, at least, 8-10 years ago, to your point, they didn't have a bunch going on all the time. So if you wanted to do one, you kind of had to travel a little bit, even if it was just a few hour drive. So, I remember doing one in Breckenridge, Colorado at their ski resort. I remember, I think me and my brother did one down near San Diego, which, for the record, was the worst weather we had. We thought, San Diego, it'll be bright and sunny. No, it was sideways rain, like huge wind gusts. They literally were closing down the course as we were going through it. But the tipping point was when they started doing season passes. And I don't remember what year that was. It might have been 2018 or 2019. But I just remember thinking to myself, well, I'm already doing like a few of these a year. And if you do the math, like the season pass was kind of worth it if you were going to do 5 or 6. And I was like, I can do a couple more, sure. And I got the season pass, and then, you start doing back-to-back races Saturday and Sunday, especially if you're traveling. Yeah, you do a trifecta weekend, you do 3 in a weekend. Like, it's really easy to start racking them up, especially the more you do it, the more people you meet. And like you said, the community is really, really strong. You start to see the same people at the starting line. You start to look forward to seeing them again, start to look forward to like, am I going to beat them this time? Are they going to beat me? And yeah, it's really, really easy to fall in love with that.
Yeah, that's something that we did touch on a little bit before we started recording, is this idea of community. And on my podcast, that comes up quite a bit when I'm interviewing people about ultramarathon. But I've always said, and a bunch of my guests have always said, that the OCR community is quite similar. It's very tight knit, and smaller. And when I say smaller, it's not like 2 or 3 people. There's tons of people, but it's this very tight knit community, and you really feel like, it's so cliche to say, but like a family. Like you said, you see people all the time. Especially the more you do, you start seeing people. Even little things, like I remember being at Breckenridge to do the Spartan Ultra, I don't remember what year it was, and on the bus, like people are just talking to me, and and you're like, this is what I miss, this is what I like about doing these races, is
Yeah.
What? Oh, did you do it that year? Yeah, I was there that year. Wasn't it crazy? And it just the camaraderie that you feel. But I'd like to hear more about this San Diego thing, because I would have felt the same way. I would have showed up and been like, beach weather. We're going to the beach after this. You know, we're gonna get some good food. So
I don't think we didn't even look at the forecast because we just expected it to be sunny. And I think it was even during the summer, and it was just one of those fluke storms. And clothing wise, not prepared at all. I think I had a tank top and shorts on and I was freezing. My tip for that, for anyone who's stuck in that situation where you suddenly need an extra layer, is go find a trash can and go get one of the extra trash bags that they usually have hidden underneath. And I literally just like tear a hole in it to stick it over my head, and I just wear a trash can. I swear I wore that trash bag on that race until the barbed wire ripped it off of me.
That is so awesome. I love that. It's just ingenuity at its finest. And how did you come up with that? Like, did you just think, oh, I bet there's an extra trash can at the bottom, or did someone tell you?
Yeah, it was just survival mode. It was just like, okay, there's only one way I'm going to race, and I'm either going to literally steal someone's jacket off of their body, or I'm going to find a layer some other way. And I think I just remember thinking, like, man, it'd be great if I had a poncho right now, and like, how could I manufacture a poncho?
That's so funny. I think back to my very first Spartan race. I think it was 2013, and when you're talking about clothes, I remember being in the men's changing tent, and there was just clothes everywhere. Like, people had left like a shirt or a pants or shorts on a table. And I walked out, and there was this big bin that said, clothes or something, and people were just throwing clothes in it. So, and I haven't seen that since, but I was going to say, you could go to that bin and find a shirt.
Probably.
Yeah, I think since that people have realized I'm not throwing away these brand new pants that I just bought. But that was very interesting when I saw that. I was like, are we supposed to leave our clothes? But anyway, so trash bag, that's actually great advice, because I've been out like on an ultra marathon or something, and it's been, I had an experience where it was just super, super cold, and I forgot my cold weather gear at the aid station to move to the next aid station, and I found one glove in the dirt as I was just going along, and I was like, I got to put this on, and so I dusted it off, and put it on, and then someone let me borrow a sock, and so I had one old trashy glove and one sock on the other hand, and it was going along. But
whatever works.
Like you said, survival mode, right? You just got to find out what any way you can to stay warm and dry.
Yeah, for sure.
So one thing that you did bring up that I'd love to hear more about, because I think this really is a major pain point with ultra runners, is strength training. And you mentioned hybrid athlete. Now, you're obviously training running. You want to be fast as you can, but you're obviously training strength, because there's no way you're not just training running and doing well at these OCR events. So can we talk a little bit about that? Because I know, and I'm just speaking for me personally, I know everyone else out there doing ultra marathons and OCRs are training properly, but I know I've neglected strength training when I've been focusing on ultra events, and I've really paid for it with, needing, my hips just getting too tight, and just, we're not here to talk about all my problems, but I think that's an area people could benefit from. So would you mind talking a little bit about that, and where you've found success in that cross training and that hybrid training?
For sure. I think most people who get into OCR are not runners. So most people's weaknesses is actually running. But for me, being a trail runner first, I also, my cross-training hobby, my secondary hobby is rock climbing. And I was doing indoor rock climbing before I even got into Spartans. So when I suddenly saw, hey, there's this type of race that caters to the two things I love, running and climbing honestly is a full body workout if you're doing it properly. A lot of people think like, oh, you just need a lot of upper body. It's actually quite a bit of leg strength and quite a bit of core. But with Spartan in particular, because there's so many upper body obstacles, there's so many weight-bearing obstacles like the monkey bars, like the rope climbs, stuff where you are having to carry your own body weight. You kind of have to do that. But what I love about it is it's like you really have to have both. You really have to have the endurance and the strength if you want to be super competitive. You don't need, anyone can do one. And that's like, if there's anything anyone takes away from this conversation today, it's that anyone is capable of doing a Spartan race. You don't have to lift weights. You don't have to be a runner. You can walk the whole thing. You can get help through obstacles. But strength training has coincidentally improved my running. And that was something I didn't expect. So as I got more competitive, as I started, aiming for podiums, landing on podiums, I realized like, oh yeah, I should actually put even more effort into this beyond just like the baseline running, the baseline rock climbing that I do. It really definitely helped because when you think about the average Spartan race, you've got 25 to 30 obstacles. And if you can even find a way to just shave 10 seconds per obstacle off, then you're automatically like bumping yourself up from 5th to 3rd or 3rd to 1st. And that really accumulates over time. So I would say most people probably don't realize you don't need to run as much as you think. And that finding more time to do the strength training actually will help you in the long run, but you still need both, for sure.
Yeah. Any tips for men or women who are maybe just doing, I'm going to say too much running, but maybe, I think you know what I mean, too much running and not enough lifting. Where should they start as far as strength training? Because I think you brought up a great point when you talk about rock climbing, because I'm ignorant to rock climbing, and that's exactly what I would have thought. I would have thought, oh, it's all in the shoulders, and it's all in the shoulders, all upper body strength, and fingers. Like I see these people hanging on by fingers. So that's what I would have thought. But when you mentioned core, that wouldn't have even registered. So can you think of something, because you are someone who cross trains exclusively for these events, what if someone's dominantly running, where's a place they could start, maybe 2 or 3 exercises that you feel really translate to running, that people could see some, I'm not even going to say the word instant results, but some really good results in helping them with running?
Yeah. The number one thing that comes to my mind is doing a heavy farmer's carry. And a farmer's carry is something you don't need a ton of technique for. I mean, obviously you still need to have proper posture, but all you need is 2 heavy kettlebells or 2 heavy dumbbells and just walk, just pace back and forth, do like 10-meter paces up and down. That is going to help you in multiple ways. It's going to help strengthen your legs. That is also going to help strengthen your upper body. And it's a really good grip strength workout as well, because grip, I'd say, is the number one thing that you should work on if you did want to try OCR. If you did want to get into obstacle racing, grip strength is going to be the biggest thing that you'll benefit from. So that's one way to do it that also benefits you as a runner for sure. Another one, if you didn't want to walk and do farmer's carries and do a walking one, is just to do weighted lunges, where you can still stand in place and either do forward lunges or backward lunges. Again, the idea is to have some kind of weight in your arms, so that's going to help with your forearm strength, help with your grip strength, and also give you the muscle building that you need for your hamstrings, your glutes, and everything else too. Now, I should also caveat, I'm not a personal trainer, so like don't take this as medical advice, but that's what works for me for sure. Like if there's just one thing I have time for, is I'm going to carry some heavy weights or I'm going to do some heavy lunges.
See, that's interesting, because now that you're saying that, the farmer carry, I could see how that would translate really well into running, because you're keeping yourself straight up, you're working your core, engaging your whole body to hold that weight as still as you can to keep that pace as you're moving, as you're moving the weight, however long the distance you choose. The lunges, that makes sense, right? Your legs, you're building up your legs, but I think it's all, like you said, with the weight, you're also having to keep yourself balanced to do that lunge properly, engaging your core and your whole body to make sure that you can hold that up properly. I like that. So
yeah, and I think
farmers carries.
A lot of people underestimate, just from an ultra running perspective, a lot of people underestimate the amount of weight you have in your hydration vest and the amount of strain that puts on your shoulders as well. When I pick up trail running season and I start wearing my vest and I start loading it, like I don't know about you guys, but I have my neck, whatever these muscles are called, I can't remember, those get sore. And so that's also something to be mindful of, is what kind of exercises can you do to help your skeletal structure bear the weight of the hydration vest and on the nutrition and water that you're going to be carrying, whether you're just a runner or whether you're doing that and carrying that hydration vest through an obstacle course, which I've also done, and that's another added burden.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because if you start getting into the longer ultra distances, you got more stuff in your pack inevitably. Unless you're that, you don't need water, which I can't imagine. You're human, so you need water. But I can remember an event I did. They had a water requirement, and it was heavy, and I had never trained with that amount of water. And obviously, it got lighter and lighter, and then I had the next check-in, and I had to carry that amount of water again to the next check stop, and so it was just as heavy for quite some time. And that, looking back, that's actually one of the areas I was like, I should have really packed my vest down with a bunch of water weight, and just carried it around, because I didn't even think about it. Maybe I should have had a coach for that, but I didn't. Well, I like that. It's just things you don't think about. I think ultra athletes get so focused on the miles. We got to get the miles in, and I'm just, again, speaking for my own self and just from people I visited with. You just don't think, oh, well, I got to be working out my core, right? I'm not worried about abs, right? So I'm like, I don't need to worry about working my core out, but it's not. It's that keeping that skeletal structure in a proper posture so you can have a good running form. In the case of OCR, the grip strength and keeping that skeletal structure so you can keep yourself in proper form. The Atlas carry, right? If you're really worn out and you get an Atlas carry at the tail end of an event, better watch out, because that thing's not light.
No.
At least last time I picked it up, it wasn't light.
It's even harder when it's covered in mud.
Yeah, I luckily, the only muddy one I've ever really done was that Spartan Ultra up in Breckenridge, and it started to rain a bit. And it wasn't muddy, but it was starting to get muddy enough that you're like slipping off of the bars, and they didn't have penalty laps at that point, unless you had to still do the burpees. You could probably tell me, when did they start doing the penalty laps instead of burpees?
I think it was during the pandemic. I want to say it was like 2021, 2022.
Yeah, so it was right before that then. And I knew that I was like, this next lap is just going to be burpees. Because I would slip, your hands were soaked, sometimes you can get the dirt to kind of keep your hands dry, Yeah. No dirt, it was all wet. And so
being able to do obstacles with wet hands is something that takes a lot of practice, for sure.
How do you train for that? I see a lot of people wear gloves, and I think, well, your gloves are going to get wet too. I mean, so how do you train for that?
You train, like, in that circumstance, I would never recommend this strategy, but in this case, like, really the only way to train for it is to do it, which means either just recognize you're going into a race and treating it as a training race, or if you happen to be lucky enough to have an OCR gym near you, which there are more of them these days as Spartan has started to connect more to the gym community, especially through now the Spartan DECA races, which is what I've started to get into in the past year. You'll have more gyms that have recreated and built the exact same obstacles, and you can do it that way. But you never know what conditions you're going to get, as we've talked about already. Like even if you look at the forecast ahead of time, a lot of these races take place in the mountains, just like ultra running community, and sometimes the weather's unpredictable. Sometimes you're going to get some hail that comes out of nowhere. Sometimes you'll get snow that comes out of nowhere, and you kind of just have to be ready. But I am a no glove person these days. As a beginner, I started with gloves, but to your point, I quickly found out that they really don't help you any better. And if anything, I think they actually make you slip more, especially when the glove itself is wet. So I'm all natural, hands only, but a big part of that is because I rock climb. So I have very, very calloused hands. And I think honestly having calluses will help you. Like that's, if I have another tip, like get some calluses. That'll give you a little more grip.
It's one of my saddest moments is after a bigger event and my feet like are destroyed. I lose my calluses on my feet. I'm like, I earned those. I want those back. You know?
You have to maintain them. Actually, you have to kind of groom the calluses so that they don't rip off like that.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a badge of honor. You're like, no, I worked so hard for that, and I gotta get it back.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite obstacle, OCR obstacle, and what is your least favorite, or one that you're working on?
The least favorite. Least favorite one is easy. I think it's everyone's least favorite. It's the spear throw. It is the one obstacle that I have yet to confidently have a success rate. And part of that is because they keep changing it. They keep making it harder. So every time I get good, they narrow the target, or they've changed it from the hay barrels to the rubber, and so they keep moving the target, pun intended, on that one. But I do have my own spears, so I do practice at home. I do go to the archery range here locally and practice that. But my favorite, I might say the rope climb. And I know we were talking about this earlier too, but I think what I love about the rope climb is that it doesn't take strength. Contrary to what a lot of people think, to be successful at the rope climb, you've got to have the right technique. And it's the one that can seem the most intimidating if you don't know the technique, but then you nail it. And I will see the most petite, skinny women go up to that and crush it because they know what they're doing. Yeah. And then you'll see these big, muscly guys who just are all arms, and they're just gassing themselves out, barely getting to the top. And I love that the rope climb really is an equalizer because anyone can do it if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, it really is a skill. When I did CrossFit for some years, they would work it into a workout, and so you'd start to practice it more and more. Because my very first rope climb as an adult in the Spartan back in 2013 was they had a big pit dug, and it was full of water. So it's just muddy water, and you try and climb out of the water up the ropes. The rope's already wet.
Yep.
And if I would have known what I knew coming out of CrossFit on how to rope climb, you're exactly right. It is all form. It's a skill. It's proper skill. And I don't recommend the wraparound unless you want to get a bad burn on your leg. But if you are doing any obstacle course racing and that's where you struggle, really spend some time watching a video, and then just practice as best you can. And I'd love to hear any tips that you have. But yeah, that you quickly realize you're like, oh, you just kind of slide your feet up and then stand up and kind of pull yourself up a little bit. But if you get that skill down, it's really like the least of your concerns. Then you're more worried about the other events. And
right.
It feels cool when you get to the top and you hit the bell and you're looking down, and I guess if you're not afraid of heights, if you're looking down. And but yeah, the wraparound, I learned that the hard way. It's not the best one. Best way.
Yeah.
I'd love
The
to
most
hear-
yeah, my tip is the most important muscle group for the rope climb is your core, your abs. Because the one movement that you need the strength for is to be able to bring your knees up almost to your elbows. Because you have to bring the feet up to reset your feet to give you the room to reach up further. So if you've got one of those kind of standing ab machines in the gym, where you can kind of like anchor your elbows on the rest and then just lift your knees up, that's the movement you need to get good at the rope climb. That's it. And anyone can do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I this is just my ignorance because I've never actually said, oh, I want to figure these things out. But that completely translates to the motion of you, like you said, bringing your legs all the way up as high as you can, clamping down in the proper form on the rope, and then just kind of standing up and pulling yourself up a little bit. But yes, we were talking before, and my daughter, when she does the rope climb, she's so stubborn. She doesn't want to practice it with her feet, or maybe we get there and the practice area is too full and we didn't have time to practice before. And like these big guys will watch her like, oh my gosh, look at her go, and she just does it all with her arms. And she might weigh, I don't know, 100 pounds or something, but she just climbs all the way up herself, and then she kind of goes down a little bit and then just drops. But yeah, it is cool to watch someone do it with no hands. But like you said, the proper form, it really becomes one of the easier things. At least for me, it became an easier thing to do compared to the other ones.
It's all about getting through the obstacles as efficiently as possible, so you're conserving energy.
Yeah, the spear throw is one that before I did the ultra, I knew that I'd have to do the spear throw twice, and I knew that on the second loop I would just be totally blasted and I'd have no energy. So I made a spear. I think I saw it on Reddit, and that guy on how to make a spear.
I probably read the same one.
Yeah. And I was in my backyard just throwing it. My arm just ached. I felt like I was some kid practicing being a pitcher or something. My arm just ached, and I got really good at it. But one time I threw the spear, I was just so tired, and I just kind of threw it really hard, and it sailed over my neighbor's fence in his backyard.
Did they have a dog?
No, but
Okay.
It's Arizona, they have a pool. They could have been out by the pool or something. So I went over, I said, hey, Chris, this is going to sound really weird, but I'm practicing a spear throw for a Spartan race. He's all, a spear? I was like, well, it's yeah, it is. It's just a big, long, handle for a garden tool. He's like, yeah, just go grab it. You're fine, just grab it. And luckily it was sticking right in the ground, right in their little garden. I was like,
oh good.
I'm glad no one was back there to have a spear get it thrown into his shoulder or something. But anyway, I've always felt bad about that. But one thing I do like to ask my guests about is, because I think this helps people as they're either going through hard times in their life or intra-race, race day, while they're racing, or maybe after a race you've had a really bad race, you didn't make your expectations. I'd love to hear about any experiences you've had where you just had a horrible race, or maybe something was happening in your life as you were building up to a race, and you kind of worked through that moment or that really hard part of the race, and then you came out on top, or you did better than you thought, or something along those lines. I'd love to hear about some of those type of experiences, if you have them.
Yeah. Oh, I have them, for sure. You can't do over 100 races, right? And not have them. I'd say the last Spartan Ultra I did, which was the one in Central California, in Paso Robles, that was my first Spartan Ultra, and obviously did a ton of training for it. And I went in with a cold. I just had this chest congestion I could not get rid of. I also originally had a few friends who were going to come with me, and literally one at a time, for one reason or another, all valid reasons, they couldn't come. So it went from me coming with my full entourage to me being almost solo. I had one friend who was racing who was still able to make it, and being sick and being like, you know what, I'm here, I've trained for this, I'm going to do this. This is all just about my performance, and that's what I need to focus on. And then we start, and it's raining in pure Spartan fashion. It's dark because you start at like 5 a.m. or whatever ridiculous time it was. And we are just barely half a mile into the race. And I'm in the front. I'm probably third female at that time. And there's a bunch of people in front of me, and we're all wearing headlamps again because it's dark. And I see everyone just turn around and start coming back towards me. And I realize whoever was in the very, very front took us off course.
Oh, no.
By a lot.
Oh, no.
So we all, like the whole group realized this is at the same time, and everyone turns around at the same time. So I went from being in the front of the pack to being in the very back, having to go back uphill to get back on course before we start to quickly jump on single track. And I just thought, you know what? That was one of those moments where it's like, is this the sign that I just should quit? Is this the sign saying this is not my race? I don't have the people here with me that I wanted to have with me. I'm still sick. I'm now in the back of the pack. It's dark. We're racing in headlamps. We're in single track. It's impossible to pass people right now. And I just said, you know what? This is what you're made for. This is what you live in the mountains for. This is you are the trail runner in this group. And you know how to make up this ground. And I did. I still didn't know what place I was in, though. I eventually made my way back up to the front, I think right as the sun was coming up, which was kind of a cool moment. But then, as you know, when you do an ultra, you usually do 2 laps. And when you come into the transition area, that's when you know where you stand, because they will either hand you the white bib that tells you were a lap leader, or they don't. And when I came into the transition area for that first lap, I didn't see any other women. Oh, okay. I think the Wi-Fi dropped for a quick. I didn't see any other women in the transition area. And so I thought, okay, they're either all ahead of me, or somehow I managed to literally get in the front. And as I am running out of the transition area, this guy starts shouting at me, and he's like, "Wait, hold on." And I'm like, "What? Who's yelling at me? I don't have any friends here." And he's holding out that white bib that tells me I'm a lap leader. And I just start crying out of happiness, being like, wow, with all the chaos that happened with this cough, I literally was coughing the entire first lap. I got that white bib, which told me I was somewhere in the top 3, and that really just gave me the fuel to just get through that second lap and make it the rest of the race. So you just never know. You never know when things are going to turn around. There's another time in Montana when I did the sprint, and that was the muddiest one I've ever been. I'm talking about like mud up to your calves. And that is not my ideal conditions. I'm not great at trying to sprint in those conditions. And I did let that inner critic get a hold of me in that race, and kind of went into just like, oh, I'm just going to finish this mode. And when I finished, I came in 5th. And the difference between first place and 5th place was 1 minute.
What?
We were all just like 10 seconds away from each other.
Oh my gosh.
Because you're starting in different heats, so you don't necessarily
Right.
know who's actually faster than you or not when you're not starting all at the same time. And it was just that reminder of like, no matter what the circumstance, like you never know what the outcome is going to be, and you just have to really keep pushing.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I mean, getting turned around is such, I'll use a term that my young hip daughters use. It's such a vibe killer.
It's a total vibe killer.
It's the worst. Because you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And it doesn't matter if it's 15 feet or 20 feet or a mile. You're like, it's over. I got turned around. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, and it's not like everyone in front of me is going to stop to let us go back in front. Like, no.
Right? You got to battle your way back. Yeah, so that's awesome. Huge kudos to you for that, because that's the mental toll a wrong turn takes. Unless you've done it, you don't know. It is debilitating. And for you to come back and then be sick at the same time, that's even more worse, and compounding on that. And it's almost like the inner critic, like it's like a poker hand or like a hand of cards, right? And you're like, no, I'm going to keep going. And your inner critic's like, yeah, but did you see this turnaround card? And did you see you have a cold card, and you're just like, oh, you're right. Oh, I should quit. But, that's awesome. And Montana, that's a tough course. My daughter and I did that one this last year in June. Was it this last June? And it's tough. And being from the desert, we were freezing. It was so cold.
It's always cold, it's always muddy, and it's always very technical.
Yeah, and it was tough. I remember that was her first beast, and total failure dad moment. I brought no calories because I thought that have calories on course, because when I did the ultra the last time I did it, they had little calorie blocks or some little something or other to eat. And luckily, talk about the community, this group of girls, they were so sweet. I said, because one of them had a pack, I said, I'm so sorry to ask, do you guys have any calories you could let my daughter have? And they were so kind. But it's just the community so great. But yeah, Kelly, that's such a great story, because you don't realize how hard it is until you're actually in it. And all those things just compound, and you go, this is it. I just got to quit. And you just really start to justify it because all these things just keep adding up. But for you to push through that and then still be the lap leader, that's just so awesome.
Yeah. Well, I will be there again this year for Retribution. So hopefully we don't get off track. And fingers crossed I'm not sick this year, too.
And that you have your entourage, because also...
And that I have my entourage.
That's another thing. I did in most of my events, I've had a crew and pacers and stuff, and it's a party. Everyone's great. We're all having a fun time. We're laughing and joking. And the last big, longer event I did, it was just all by myself. I had no crew or pacers. And I knew some people on the course, but that's another big mind game. When you're all by yourself, and you're not seeing people, that's another big mind game that I'd never experienced, and it was a lot tougher than I expected. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
But
I was talking to a friend about that recently, and using the analogy that when you don't have that entourage, when people have to back out for some reason, then I kind of treat it like a silent disco. Which is that you're still enjoying your own experience and you're still sharing this experience with others, even though you're all doing it alone. But it's still that kind of shared camaraderie of doing the same thing together that you can find community in, even if it's not people you know.
Yeah. It is nice because you do meet more people. You're kind of forced to meet more people, but yeah, you're right. It's different, and if you let it, it could really work against you. At least in my case, I really started to allow it to kind of work against me, and I kind of really got into a dark place during this event where I was just like, ugh, why am I doing this? And I did it for a charity bib, so I was like, you're doing it for charity, and I was like, but they've already raised the money, so I could just quit now, and they still get the money. You're just kind of battling all these mental demons.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about. You obviously just told us you're racing again at the Ultra in Central California. What other big events do you have this year? I'd love to hear more about these.
Yeah, well, I'm also dipping my toes on high rocks. So talking about hybrid racing. So I've done a couple Spartan DECA events, which for people who don't know DECA, it's an indoor version of fitness racing where there's still running involved, but you're doing a little bit more station-based obstacles, so to speak. So it includes things like the row machine, the ski erg, farmer's carry, like we were talking about before. So definitely more strength-oriented. So even doubling down on strength even more than I have before, but also you've still got to have the running capacity, because with High Rocks, it's still a total of 8 kilometers that you're running over the course of the event. But it's just very high intensity because it's shorter, certainly than like an ultra, right. But it feels like an ultra because you're going at max capacity. You're in zone 4, zone 5 the whole time. So I've got Anaheim coming up next weekend where I'll be racing solo.
Awesome.
Then I've got High Rocks Vancouver the weekend after that where I'll be racing doubles with a good friend of mine. And then I'll also be at the High Rocks in Las Vegas in February where I'll be racing as a team.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Because in my mind, I've never, admittedly, I've never dived really deep into High Rocks, but I always equated it to like CrossFit, where you have your local boxes and you kind of battle each other. But that's so cool that it's more, you can travel to different events.
Yeah.
Sign up for different. That's awesome.
It's definitely different than CrossFit, although that is probably the easiest connection to make because it is a kind of gym environment.
Right.
But there's no barbells involved. There's no technical weightlifting. The heaviest thing you're going to do is you're going to carry a sandbag when you do the lunges. But other than that, that's why they kind of refer to it as fitness racing, because it's kind of everything you could do in a gym without needing a personal trainer.
That's a good description. That's interesting. Very cool. I was going to mention the ski erg. So as I was getting out of CrossFit, the Aerodyne machine was just getting popular, and they were starting to incorporate those into workouts. And I've seen the ski erg since then, as I've Instagram, and I follow certain people on Instagram, kind of in that scene still. That looks like the devil's tool. That looks like the devil himself was like, "You want to work out? Here you go. Take this machine."
It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing to warm up on because it's also a total body workout. Yeah, it's great. It's all about finding the right resistance level, finding the right cadence. Yeah.
So is it as bad as the Aerodyne? Because I never liked that. I tried to get better at that machine, and I was like, But is it on par
I don't know what that one is, but I do know the one that everyone does think is the devil is the assault bike. Yes, that one is universally. Is that the same thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. That one.
With the
yes.
big fan
totally
on the
agree.
front.
Yep. That one's brutal.
Ugh. Okay. So we won't talk about the assault bike. I guess that because they used to have that like back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, it made a comeback.
It did, and they made it worse. Like this giant fan, Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, this has been so much fun, Kelly. I just think that what you're doing is so cool. Obstacle racing, I found it when I was married with kids, and I just found it to be such like a fun outlet for me. And now I'm seeing my daughter get into it, and I just, like we kind of were talking about before we started recording, I've told her, I was like, you could do so good at this. I mean, she did the little kids one I've got videos when she was like 10, and she came in like second place under this one kid who was all Spartaned out and had the shoes and all the gear. I was like, if you wanted to do this, you could really, really excel. She's very athletic, and so I've just always looked up to OCR racers tremendously. You guys are just amazing because it's not just one thing. You've really got to dial in so many different things and really be proficient at all those different, I was about to call them exercises. I guess they kind of are, but all those different disciplines like with an Ironman, you got to be a good swimmer and a good cyclist and a good runner. But an OCR athlete, like you were talking about, grip strength, you got to be able to rope climb, you got to be able to lift up the Atlas ball, which is not light. There's just so many different things you've got to focus on. So the training is so much more complex. So I just think you guys are just amazing athletes.
Yeah. But again, only if you want to be competitive at it. You can still do all those things non-competitively in a very safe, supportive environment. But if you do want to do it competitively, I think there's still more longevity in it because it really forces you to focus on training that is good for your whole body, which is why if you look at the most competitive times, they're typically in that 40 to 49 age range, the age range I'm in now.
Really?
Yes. So it's not the 20-year-olds, it's not even the 30-year-olds, it's the people who have really nailed down their training later in life.
Interesting.
Who are the most competitive.
That's so interesting you say that because, I'm involved enough in it, but I don't sit and stare at the leaderboards or anything. So, I've never deducted that out of it. But what do you think that is? Is it, like you just said, is it that they've kind of buckled down on their training as you get older and you have really dedicated your time to each one of these different things? Or what do you think it is?
I think so, at least for me personally, because you've kind of gone through all the other sports. Like I said, I've done the road running, I've done the trail running, and now finding that diversity, finding that passion for doing different types of training, different types of strength workouts is something you just kind of have to do as you get older. I think especially for women, it's being talked about more, where women need strength training to maintain our bone density, to maintain our just overall balance. And so as you put more emphasis on that, just based off of where you are in life, you're naturally going to get better at competing in the type of sport that rewards that.
Yeah, I just think I have 4 daughters, and they're all athletes and doing different things. So I think OCR and ultra are 2 sports where female athletes really, really, if not beat men, really give the other male competitors a strong run for their money. Like in ultra, there's a few female athletes that just go all out win these events, these longer distances. And I watch some of these women when I go do the Spartan races, and it is so incredible. They're just so fast, and they just like a deer just fly over these walls. I'm like, holy crap, it's just so strong and fast. It's so impressive. And so I think it's a great place for female athletes to really find their own home. And that's one of the reasons I kind of encouraged my daughter to do it, amongst other things. But it's so impressive to me what you ladies are doing in ultra and in OCR racing. Well, CrossFit too. And I'm sure High Rocks is the same way. I'm not trying to say they're the same. I'm just saying both of those different disciplines, same thing, like incredible female athletes that are just beating a lot of men in a lot.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. I think
we need
cool.
more women. Don't be afraid of getting muscular. It's okay. It's sexy these days.
I think at least on Instagram they call them muscle mommies. I don't know if that's what they are. I've heard that term, so I don't know.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, Kelly, again, this has been so much fun, and you've kind of motivated me to sign up for another OCR event and to look more into High Rocks. So
do it.
Very cool stuff. And I like to give my guests kind of the final word. If you want to shout out somebody or something that you live your life by, just kind of give you the last word to close us out, and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, I think the final word is just something we haven't talked about, but is really important, is just training your mind as well. We've alluded to it a little bit, but I do some mindset coaching on the side myself. It's something that relates to the phrase I like to say a lot, is that your mind is going to try and give up before your body does. And especially whether it's a high intensity 8-kilometer race or a 100-mile race, like you've got to have your mind ready just as much as your body. And thankfully people are talking about that more these days as well. There's so many more tools and techniques whether it's breath work or journaling, but make sure to incorporate that into your training. Make sure to incorporate that into your support network so that when things do get tough, you know what to do and you know what you need in that moment. So
I love it. Couldn't have said it better myself, Kelly. That was perfect. Thank you so much. Would you mind just telling people where they could find you if they were interested in any mindset coaching or to follow you on any socials?
Yeah, definitely find me on Instagram. It's my name, Kelly Fuson. And you can also find me on Strava. And yeah, happy to answer any questions or reach out to anyone.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, again, thank you so much. This has been a blast. And we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thank you.